a compliment before I hit the stage. Good afternoon, everyone, ladies, gents, special guests. As I've just been told, I'm Joel Fernandes. I'm a fourth-year mechanical engineering student here at QUT, and it's my pleasure to talk to you today. Some of you actually might have recognized me before from QUT Virtual, QUT Harlem Shake, and the Jackson 5. But as I said, it's my great opportunity and pleasure to speak to you guys about change today. But before I get started and get swinging, I have a bit of a confession. I'm just an ordinary university student. I can't really promise any revelations. I haven't had any life-changing experiences. I definitely haven't had any scientific breakthroughs. Actually, when I was 15, when Jack Aradaka is going to talk this later on. When he was 15, he was finding out how to determine if cancer was a cause. When I was 15, my greatest achievement was actually making 2-minute noodles in 1:45, which I'll have you know is something that stands to this day in Northside Brisbane. So in fact, I don't really have too many credentials. My own main credential for today is actually I've completed a stand-up comedy course, and I think more importantly, I don't have any shame. So we'll see where that can take us. So now I'm a pretty simple guy, and I've noticed this morning and even earlier, people are throwing around this word change. And I was like, what change are we talking about? So I thought it would be appropriate for me to maybe go through and find out what this word actually means. And the way I went, I didn't use Wikipedia or any of these other reliable sources. I thought I would go out there and maybe interview some of my close family and friends and see what they thought change meant to them and what some of the major changes in their life were. I'll try to keep these people relatively anonymous for reasons you'll soon see. Knowing that it would yield interesting results, the first person I spoke to was actually a couple, a set of friends of mine who recently moved in together, and their life has changed quite a lot. And the first thing they said, I said, what's the major change for you guys? And this was actually quite surprising, but I guess a little bit revealing as well. What they said was, you never realize how much you fart until you're never alone. Which I think, although his example might have been a little bit crass, really reveals a lot about how change can act in different ways. I think for my friend, change was two people transforming their lives forever by joining together. And along the way, they obviously found out many different things about themselves as well. In the interest of good science, I also interviewed a couple other people, one of which was my younger cousin. And I sort of said to him, what's changed? And he gave me a very brief standard, which was, his overarching definition was new things coming in and old things getting lost, which I think is actually a pretty good definition, if a little bit simple. And it seems like despite being in primary school, he has a pretty good understanding that change is a very definite part of life. I asked him, what's some of the changes, what's wrong with change? And he says, well, if you're not used to change, then it can be a problem. And if something is bad, though, it can become better with change. And I think that's really admirable that at this young age, that he's already grasped that quite a complex idea, I guess. I would recommend that everyone takes my cousin's advice with a pinch of salt, though. Not moments later, I actually caught him putting green peas in his nose. And I sort of said, what are you doing? Why are you putting food in your nose? And he simply responded, my nose is hungry. And try as I might, I can't argue with that kind of logic, so good on him. I think no amateur interview is complete, I suppose, without interviewing your parents. And even for a TED Talk, that was no different. So I actually went and spoke to my father, and he was my final interviewee, and you can see a little bit of change. I'm not sure if he'll be happy I put that one up. And I sort of said, Dad, what's changed to you? And everyone's dad, or everyone's parents have, when I was your age kind of stories. But I think because my dad grew up in India, I sort of believe some of them a little bit more than others. My dad was incredibly poor growing up, and we were very fortunate to be in Australia today. But he once said he was so poor that instead of shoes, they actually used to tie shoelaces around their feet. Terrible, terrible thing. But he sort of said, I said, Dad, what has changed to you? And according to my father, change is anything that has an effect on you or someone else's life, and a deviation from the supposed normal. And so for my father, the greatest change was not something revolutionary, but it's something that really ebbed in. 20 years ago, he came to Australia, and he says from then to now, his idea of what he wants in life is very different to what it was at the start. Coming from India, his idea of good living was food, family, and obviously a roof over his head. But now coming to Australia, that's very subtly changed. And he thinks over the last 20 years, that's something he's been able to see in real life as well. We've slowly gone away from these very simple living ideas to more consumerism, corporate-driven, money-driven. Success is measured on what you are, or like what you have, rather than what you have with you. So despite that, obviously cultural change for my father has happened over very many years. So I mean, despite having several hours worth of change advice, I guess, I feel like I'm no truly closer to finding out what change really means. Although after listening to this morning, it feels like I might have been asking the wrong kind of people. However, I would like to encourage everyone to go home and ask people that you know, some of your close family friends, to see what they think change is, and hopefully you'll get answers a little bit better than mine were. I hope all of you guys have found my presentation entertaining. Good luck to you if you found it informational. Thank you all for your time, and enjoy the rest of the evening.